Welcome to the hashtag Football Friday edition of Second City Sports. We're live and live in color right here on Sports Zone Chicago, along with Miss Lakeem McGee, which is she. I am Cindy Brownhead. That's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at CK80. Once again, it's CK80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow me at Keenan McGee on the Twitter and at Keenan McGee on the IG.
Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app today, wherever you get your apps. Make sure you follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Subscribe to our podcast at War on Anchor. We are available on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And make sure you follow War Media at WAR Media on all socials, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We're unapologetically fun, and we have very definite opinions. You have any definite opinions, sports opinions during our 2-hour extravaganza we call a sports talk radio show, you can always hit us up on the comment section at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in your questions or comments in the comment section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you. But if you decide to troll and or do something stupid, I've given Lakina full power to give you fools to Bill and be a boot.
Bye-bye.
I love when she says that. But before we begin, we must remind you that you can now catch Sports Zone Chicago on Roku TV. That's right. Celebrate with the squad. Get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now on Roku TV. If you already have a Roku TV, just tap on the sports folder and download Sports Zone Chicago through that avenue. If you don't have a Roku TV, he has some handheld devices laying around: iPhone, iPad, iTouch, personal PC, your Chromebook, which I'm using right now, and Lakeem using her personal PC. Just go to the App Store and download Roku TV and access Sports Zone Chicago through that avenue. So, one more again, as you young folks would say. Celebrate with the squad. Get with the program. No more excuses. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, 7 days a week, live and on demand.
Whenever you want, wherever you want. So, whenever.
Girl, you know I can't prefer. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, you can't. Well, look, you don't have the right sit, so you don't have the right song, so you can't stay. 2 seconds. That's all you can get. And we got a busy shit. We don't have to. We have to worry about previewing my Bears game. Yay!
Yay!
But we will have. We've been wanting to get this guy on our show for the longest. Herb Howard from the Bigs. He covers the Bears. We'll talk that and NFL with him in a little bit. At 1, of course, our girl Christine Manica will have, of course, our picks, and also too some baseball signings. And what are your White Sox doing, Sid? What's going on here? But
we'll just say all that coming up in our next segment. Yeah.
Right, exactly. But yeah, we're gonna talk some Bulls first and foremost in the NBA. The Bulls got a much needed win against the Wizards on Wednesday. Of course, the Wizards were without Bradley Beal, but they were able to come through in the clutch with some of the players. Io had his best showing in a while, and some controversy for pretty much everybody on there. So, but we'll get to Charles Barkley's comments. I know Sid wants to talk about that in a second. But what do you think about their performance against the Wizards on Wednesday, Sid?
I know the Bulls are not the same team as they were last year, and I accepted that. But I hate using this term, but I will for a lack of time and for a lack of term. I felt like this was much of a struggle win as anything else for this Bulls team, Lakina. And here's why. Yes, DeRozan scored 15 of his 27 points in the fourth quarter. But as we talked about on this program before, the Bulls, when DeRozan goes off, or when Zach went off last week at Sacramento when he scored his season-high 41, the other 4 Bulls players on the court, they stand around. And it was a little bit of encouragement to see that the Bulls had 29 assists total as a team for the game the other night. But still at times that when DeMar or Zach has the ball, they stand around waiting for them to make something happen to carry the team. What did we say on our last show on Monday, Lakina? The ball has to move. I feel like I'm Larry Brown coaching Allen Iverson back in 2001 when they mic'd them up for the NBA Finals. The ball has to move. Nothing, no offense. When you have a stagnant offense, other teams are predicting that what you're going to do, and they're going to take advantage of it. And and they're going to go the other way. And we've seen that so far this season for the Chicago Bulls. Now, like I said, it was encouraging that this team showed some ball movement the other night, but again, this team still has a long way to go. It was a nice victory against like I say, Bradley Beal was missing, but Kyle Kuzma had a nice game, and some of the other supporting cast members for them from the Wizards did so as well. Kristaps Porzingis had 28 points. He still had a good win with 4 points off the bench, but those were huge for the Wizards at the time. But Lakina, I still want to see more from Patrick Williams. Yes, he had 11 points and 3 rebounds, but he was in foul trouble. Also, to Andre Drummond, I know he did his part early in the season coming off the bench, but he was in foul trouble as well. That's 2 things that the Bulls have to straighten out. Foul trouble in playing consistently on the defense. Now, they did bring the defense, especially toward the end of that game, but the ball has continued to move, and these fouls, especially the big guys, they got to stop getting in foul trouble.
Yeah, I think Drummond got with like 4 fouls in like 3 minutes or something like that in the
Mm-hmm.
second
He
quarter.
ended up with 5 for the game.
Yeah, that was a little bit weird, but I don't know how, what was he doing? Was he hacking, Porzingis? I don't know, but I mean, look, it wasn't was it the prettiest win? No, but look, this is the NBA. This is not the old BCS in college football. It's not about style points as long as you win. Look, DeRozan had 20, had 27 points, and Zach was 5 for 9 from the 3. He made some big 3-pointers that led the Bulls that comeback in the fourth quarter. So yeah, I mean, it's fine. I mean, look, I'm not, I don't like the whole ball movement thing. You can work on that. Remember, Javonte, Green wasn't there, so it's really not, again, it's not about style points as long as you get the win. And the Bulls needed that win desperately, and they got the Luka and the Mavs tomorrow night at home, so this should help him a little bit. So Luka will get his shots. If you team everybody else, then you should be able to win this game, but it's going to be 50-50 there now. Going into, some of the stats from the game. Of course, 27 for DeRozan, and Vooch had 25 and 11. Of course, Zach had 25. P. Will had 11. I only had 4, but he made a couple of big steals late. Mm-hmm. Also, too, Derrick Jones, also made some big steals. So, a nice little team effort. Like I said, was it the prettiest? No, but like I said, it's not about style points at this point. So it doesn't really matter as long as you get the win.
We're talking Bulls and NBA right here on Second City Sports on the hashtag Football Friday edition. If you have any questions or comments for us, you can hit us up in the comments section at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in questions or comments in the comments section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you. A couple of players I want to ask you about, Lakina, and they combined for 8 points off the bench, and that's Goran Dragic and Kobe White. I want to ask you, are you concerned about either one of those players, especially Kobe White? I know he's been back for a while from his various injuries, but are you starting to get concerned about him, or are you still having a little bit of patience with him?
Yeah, it's a little bit patient. I mean, he hasn't. Remember, people need to remember he didn't play consistently last year, so he's still trying to find his groove and such. Dragic, same thing. Remember, he played in the Euro League, Dragic, for most of the summer. So of course, he's going to have off games and such. So I'm not worried about neither one of them. Dragic, look, the Bulls wouldn't have 10 wins. Half those wins are thanks to Dragic and Drummond. So for people who want, who are already over, Drummond and Dragic, I mean, look, there's a reason. Look, they're 10 and 14, but half those wins are because of Dragic and Drummond. So I think for folks who want them off the team right now, I think you need to kind of step back a little bit and just keep your opinions to yourself on that one. But Kobe White, same thing. And look, he's still trying to find his groove and such. Like, he's going to have these types of games. Like, I'm not worried about Kobe either. Now, if we're going to January, he's still having these kinds of games, then we'll talk. But right now, I'm not worried.
And going to the starting lineup, I know people want Javonte Green in terms of subbing for Patrick Williams in the starting lineup. That hasn't happened yet. I don't know if it's going to happen anytime soon, but I do like the addition of Ayo Dosunmu coming off the bench. Like you say, he came up with a couple of steals in that win against Washington the other night. But Alex Caruso, who struggled offensively, even though you didn't bring him here for offense, he contributed nicely with 5 points the other night. But he did dish out 9 dimes and grabbed 4 key rebounds, especially down the stretch, and then win in the other night against the Wizards. I like that addition to the starting line. You have to jumpstart this offense. And Alex Caruso, we said it last year when he signed here, he's going to bring that intensity defensively. Any points that you get for him offensively, that's a bonus, but he sets the tone defensively, and that's what you want to see from him whether he's a starter or coming off the bench. But with Alex Caruso getting a little bit more minutes, I like this lineup change that Billy Donovan, the head coach, has done so far.
Plus, Caruso also has a couple of big steals too in that win against the Wizards. So, look, I think it's more for defensive purposes for Caruso. Like, you didn't bring him in for offense, like you said. He has some, key, assists. He had 9 assists. So, again, I think Caruso is a nice, addition to the lineup. You need somebody that can move the ball and such. Once Green does come back, you might be the kind of guy that you probably can replace P. Will, but at least right now, that Caruso is a nice little, floor general, and Caruso does that for you. So I'm not worried about that now. Before we go to break, we'll talk the rest of the NBA in a second. Now, apparently, I guess Charles Barkley caused quite a stir on Waddle and Sylvie earlier this week. They're saying that the Bulls should tear it down. Charles, honey. I'm going to be a little nice here for a second. Well, you said the Warriors were finished and you were wrong there. So, and you said some other stuff too. So I think this might be a good sign for the Bulls. So no, we just went through a rebuild. Look, okay, we'll see what happens with Lonzo. I know Lonzo, he hasn't even been clear for basketball activities yet. But look, we just went through a rebuild, and to say that this team needs a rebuild right now, I think is a little bit disingenuous. And all I'm gonna say is, you're not you weren't big on the Bulls anyway. Weren't you the one that said that DeRozan wouldn't fit in the Bulls uniform when he signed here last summer? Not this past summer, but last summer of last year. So you're wrong there too, Mr. Barkley. So maybe you should just stick to the rest of the league, because you've been off about the Bulls a lot.
I know I was late to the party as well, but did you listen to that Zach Lowe podcast from ESPN from last week? I forgot who he had on. The name escapes me, but the rumored trade talks was between the Bulls and the Lakers involving Vucevic and DeMar.
It was eternal discussion among the Lakers brass, I guess.
Yeah, for those 2 draft picks at 2027, 2029. I understand the Lakers are in the win now mode. If that trade were to occur, they'll be a much better team than they are right now. But if you're the Bulls, if you want to take that next level, I hate to say it, DeMar DeRozan may have to be at a sacrificial lamb game. Him or Vucevic will have to go. But like you said, we don't have to worry.
For who though? Who are you gonna get though for them?
That's my point. Like I said, one of we don't know. But if the Bulls want to take that next step, I believe one of them has to be the sacrificial lamb. Like you said, for who, I don't know. Especially not for Westbrook. I wouldn't do that deal. I understand that makes logical sense, but I wouldn't do that deal.
It does.
But just for the record. DeMar DeRozan is up for is due for an extension after next year. This summer will be Nikolai Vucevic. I just wanted to point that out.
Well, yeah, it's just a little bit pick me up there, but yeah, look, you want Westbrook, they're not going to want to deal with that contract. AD's actually playing pretty well for the Lakers right now. You're still, look, the Bulls have a better record than the Lakers, even though they're in a little bit of on a roll. So this doesn't make any sense at all. So eternal discussions with the Lakers. Please, no. That should just let that part out. Whoever said, I just read the excerpts, but whoever said that, he should have kept that to himself or herself, because that makes no sense at all. All right, we're gonna go really quick break. We're gonna talk the rest of the NBA. Some very interesting things happened in some of the games this week. We'll talk about that and a whole lot more. Of course, Herb Howard will join us at the top of the hour to talk Bulls and NFL. Also, our girl Christine Manica will be joining us for our picks and also baseball signings and whatnot. What are the White Sox doing? I don't know, but we got a lot to talk about still. Lakina McGee, Sydney Brown, Second City Sports on Sports on Chicago. More NBA talk right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too.
These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you. Your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Oh, sorry. Welcome back to Second City Sports and the Hashtag Football Friday edition right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid Deslakina. You can hit me up on the Twitter and the IG at CK80. Once again, it's CK80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
Follow me at Keenan McGee on the Twitter and at Keenan McGee on the IG.
And if you want to hit us up in the comments section, you can always go to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Typing in questions or comments in the comments section, Lakina will get them up on the screen for you. Lakina, before we go to baseball and after we wrap up the week that was in the NBA, remind me, I have a question to ask you and our loyal viewers and listeners out there. Something that I thought of late last night, but we'll get to that after we do this. To the rest of the NBA, as we usually do, we'll start backwards and go all the way back to Monday, but we'll start with last night's action Thursday, as a couple of games came down to the wire. The Miami Heat defeated the Los Angeles Clippers 115-110. The Spurs get by the Rockets 118-109, and Jamal Murray hits the game winner in Portland last night. The Nuggets defeated the Trailblazers 121-120. Lakina, did you see our girl Katie Wingy from Altitude Sports? She's the host, anchor, and analyst in front of the show, by the way. That was a nice reaction she had sitting next to Nuggets TV voice Chris Marlowe last night. That was awesome.
Yeah, that was hilarious. And Murray that was a nice shot too. By Murray was contested, and
yes.
I mean, I don't know who that was near him, but that was a really nice win for the Nuggets. And look, I think the Blazers, I know that Dave's been in and out of the lineup, due to injuries and such, but I know Dame had 40 points, but that wasn't enough, so it came down to a wire, and only 21 points Portland scored in the fourth. So that I think that definitely didn't help their cause, because they were up in that game. So yeah, that a bad fourth quarter did them in. That's why Murray was able to hit that game winner.
Yep. And then the Clippers lose another game on the road, on the East Coast road trip, losing to the Miami Heat 115-110. As we talked about on our last show on Monday, Lakina, looks like Miami's starting to pick up here. The Clippers still trying to manage their star players, in particular Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. I know Kawhi Leonard hit the game winner on Monday at Charlotte. Charlotte's a bad team. Michael Jordan, thank goodness he's not going to the Hall of Fame for his front office skills. I know that Charlotte team has been participants in the play-in tournament the last couple of years, but they'll be lucky if they even sniff a striking distance with that this year. They have one of the worst records in the league.
Yeah, but going back to the Clippers and Heat for a second, Bam had 31 leading the way there, and I think they really needed this win. I'm talking about Miami. They're 12 and 14 right now as this recording. And I know our girl Lana took our. We gotta get her back on the show at some point. I know she was very glad that for this win. And like you said, with the load management, LPG had 29. Kawhi didn't play. They're 14 and 13 right now. I'm talking about the Clippers. So this could probably be. Hopefully, this won't be an issue. After the first of the year, you could get away with this. Early in the season, since all the games are kind of all bunched together. But as soon as the first of the year hits, you don't want to be doing this. So, but a nice one for the Heat.
Yeah, let's go back to Wednesday now, where we saw Chris Paul return to the lineup for the Phoenix Suns, but they get destroyed at home by the defending Eastern Conference champions, the Boston Celtics, 125-98. Lakina, I'll ask you, along with our listeners and viewers at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page and Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube, do you believe right now that Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are the best duo in the NBA?
I think so. I think Tatum had 25. And I think Jaylen Brown had. I gotta look up the box score here for a second. He had both of them had 25. Both Tatum and Brown had 25, so they led the way for them. They also Malcolm Brogdon had 16 off the bench, so they had some. And Luke Cornett had 12 as well. I should say off the bench, so they had a lot of bench contributors that definitely helped the Celtics there. And I saw this game and it was over with pretty quick.
Yeah,
33-21. The Suns scored the Suns by 12 in the fourth, but it was kind of garbage time too. They had already, the game was already in the Celtics' hands. So, but yeah, I think they're definitely the best backcourt in the league right now.
And I would have to agree with you as well. Jason Tatum also, I think he's the front runner right now for MVP, even though we're 2.5 months into this start of the 2022-23 season. Another game that took place on Wednesday of interest, the Utah Jazz held on to beat the Golden State Warriors 124-123. The Warriors, as we talked about, Lakina, Steve Kerr has been getting his rotation together, placing certain starters with the second group, in particular Draymond Green. Draymond Green has been playing better over the last couple of weeks, but Utah got their revenge. They lost at Oracle Arena about a week and a half ago, almost 2 weeks ago now, but they get their revenge holding on to a 1-point victory at home.
Yeah, weren't they trailed by 4 points, under 9 seconds left, or just a little over 9 seconds left? And they were able to come back and beat the Warriors and such. Fontecchio, helped them there. Simone Fontecchio, he had a dunk with just about 4.4 left. Nicole Alexander Walker's steal that kind of set up that point there. I saw that and I'm like, wow, okay, yeah. That was not the best showing by the Warriors there. The Warriors are at 500 now. They're at 13 and 13. So I don't think Warriors fans should worry. I think, like you said, he's still, Kerr's trying to, mess around with the lineup. Draymond's starting to find his groove again. So I wouldn't worry too much if you're a Warriors fan. I think the Jazz needed this win more than anything. But not a good way to lose if you're the Warriors. That was not a good way to lose that game on Wednesday.
The New Orleans Pelicans, going back to Wednesday, the New Orleans Pelicans defeated Detroit Pistons 104-98. Zion Williamson, another sneaky candidate for early MVP consideration. He's averaging over 27.8 points per game over the last week. New Orleans could be one of those surprise teams in the league. We talked about this last year. Zion missed the whole season. New Orleans got in the playoffs with virtue of winning both their play-in games before bowing out to the Phoenix Suns last year. With Zion Williamson, they could be a top 5, maybe top 4, but definitely top 5 teams in the Western Conference if Mr. Williamson stays healthy. Right now, he's playing great ball, and so is the rest of the squad.
Yeah, it's his 6th career game with at least 25, 10 rebounds, and 5 assists. That's highest hit with CP3 for the 4th most in the Pelicans/Hornets history. So nice history there. He could definitely make a case for him for a comeback player of the year if he stays healthy. I think that's going to be the key, for Zion if he stays healthy. So far, so good. Especially if the Pelicans want to get to that next level, especially in that competitive Western Conference.
Yes, and the New York Knicks get back on track with a 113-89 win of the Atlanta Hawks. Of course, Trae Young and Nick McMillan, with that beef going on right now, there's Trae Young's trying to rehab from his various injuries. Nick McMillan the head coach doesn't like the way he's going about it, so they got into it. And like I said, we're going to monitor this as this year goes along. Hopefully that
Hopefully they can
resolves
figure it
itself
out.
quickly.
Hopefully it resolves itself
because
this
because
you don't want this to
Atlanta.
be a distraction because Atlanta has not had a good start. They're 13-12,
Yeah.
so they're right, kneeling at 500. But you don't want this thing to be a distraction with your coach and your star player, getting into it, especially with the media picking it up.
Exactly. And also, Deontay Murray has been a great addition for the Atlanta Hawks team so far. And he's a very good player, but you don't want him carrying the team because if that happens, you're in trouble. Now, let's go one more game of note from Wednesday night. The Toronto Raptors beat the Los Angeles Lakers, the injury-riddled Los Angeles Lakers, 126-113 as the Lakers continue their East Coast road trip. Of course, LeBron James sat out for load management, and Anthony Davis missed the game due to a flu. Some people want to question that. Why? I don't know. The man is sick. Leave the man alone.
It's crazy. Yeah, I know. It's a little nutty.
I know.
I saw some people question it, like, "Oh, is he really sick?" I mean, look, it's allergies, cold and flu season. I mean, look, the man's sick. The man's sick. I mean, look, I'm going through a sinus drainage right now, so people need to just chill on that. Don't question the guy being sick. I mean, if he was well enough to be out there, he would have been out there. So I think folks need to kind of chill on that. But yeah, a nice win for the Raptors. Pascal Siakam had 25 points leading the way there, so it was a little bit of a struggle for the Lakers. But yeah, I mean the Raptors did just have to win that game.
Yeah, a couple of games enough from Tuesday. Of course, the Lakers lost their first game in that East Coast road trip to the Cleveland Cavaliers, 116-102. Of course, that was LeBron James return to Cleveland. Another big there because he's returned to Cleveland so many times before. And of course, the Mavericks get an important win on the road at Denver, 116-115. Lakina, as we talked about with the Dallas Mavericks, the Bulls will host them tomorrow night at the United Center. Someone needs to step up scoring rights to help out Luka Doncic. Christian Wood has been disappointing. Of course, Jalen Brunson left for New York. You still have Spencer Dinwiddie, Tim Hardaway Jr., who's going to step up to be that second scorer consistently next to Luka's hip.
Yeah, Luka did hit his 52nd career triple-double, so tying with Magic Johnson for the second most in 300 games all time or less. Only the big O Oscar Robertson has the most in that span with 109, so that's pretty cool there. But look, Tim Hardaway Jr. led the way with 29, so hopefully he can do that consistently. That way he can help out Luka, because we don't want Luka to wear himself out, because there's a little bit of a wear and tear there, and he is still in his 20s, but there's been a lot of wear and tear in that body of his. So you hope that maybe someone can step up for him and help out. We'll see if they can make any moves during the trade deadline. But yeah, not a good not a solid showing by them nonetheless. Now going back to Monday, of course, Indiana upset Golden State 112-104. So they're 13-11. I'm talking about Indiana, probably one of the more surprising teams in the league right now as we speak. So of course, the Warriors have had their struggles lately. So, I know again, Warrior. I think they started to freak out too when they lost to Indiana, but that's a pretty good Indiana team. They got a good mix of young talent and veteran talent. Andrew Nembhard had 31 points, which is a career high for him. Ben Mathurin had 14 points for them. So I think Rick Carlisle finally found his niche with his Pacer squad.
Yeah, I want to see if I can get you to adopt them as your team this year, Lakina, if they keep winning.
Oh yeah, look, I really like how they play. So yeah, maybe.
Yeah, so Rick Carlisle, as you mentioned, has done a great job with that squad. In one more game of note from Monday, the Philadelphia 76ers welcome back James Harden, Lakina. I don't know if that was a low-key return of one, but they were handing a loss to the Houston Rockets on the road in double overtime.
Yeah, that was a little bit weird that he came back. But yeah, they lost that game in double overtime to Houston. Not a good loss if you're Philly. I mean, Harden had 21 in his return. Of course, Embiid had 39 and 7 boards, but also Tobias Harris had 27. But they really didn't have too much help at that. I mean, Shaq Milton had 11 points off the bench, but they really didn't have a lot of contributions. But Houston was playing. I guess you could say they were playing lights out. I mean, Tari Easton had 18 off the bench. Kenyon Martin Jr., get ready to feel old folks, had 14 off the bench as well. He's a rookie. But yeah, just not a good showing by Philly, especially in Harden's return.
Hopefully Philadelphia can stay healthy, get Tyrese Maxey back, and they can turn it around because Doc Rivers is on thin ice as head coach of the 76ers right now. You're listening to Second City Sports on the hashtag Football Friday edition. We're live and in live in color on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid Lakina. We're talking NBA and Bulls at large. I have a question for Lakina and our listeners and viewers out there after we get through the schedule for this upcoming weekend from the National Basketball Association. Starting out with tonight's action Friday, we had the Knicks visiting the Charlotte Hornets at 6 o'clock. Also at 6 o'clock, the Wizards will visit the Indiana Pacers. Also at 6, Toronto will take on the Orlando Magic from the Kingdom. At 6:30, we have Atlanta visiting the Brooklyn Nets, the much resurgent Brooklyn Nets. And also at 6:30, the Sacramento Kings will visit the Cleveland Cavaliers. That should be fun. At 6:30 on ESPN, part of that Friday night doubleheader, the Lakers will visit the 76ers. Hopefully, LeBron James will play. The status is uncertain for Anthony Davis. We'll see about that. At 7 o'clock, Detroit will visit Memphis to take on the Grizzlies. At 7:30, Phoenix at New Orleans. That should be a fun one.
That should be fun. Yep.
Yep. That's my league pass game of the night for that one. At 8 o'clock, the injured Minnesota Timberwolves will visit the Utah Jazz. And at 9 o'clock, part of that second half of that ESPN Friday night doubleheader, the Milwaukee Bucks will visit Dallas to take on the Mavericks.
Yeah, going into tomorrow, Saturday, you got San Antonio and Miami. That's at 4 o'clock. Yeah, I know that's a strange start time for that.
Yeah.
Both these teams come off a back-to-back. You got Brooklyn and Indiana. At 6 o'clock, we'll see how much energy both those teams have. Clippers continue their East Coast road trip at Washington. We'll see if Beal should be back by then. I read OKC and Cleveland. That should be a fun one. Battle of the young teams there. Of course, Dallas and the Bulls at 7 o'clock. And ABC's NBA Saturday Game of the Week makes its return at 7:30 tomorrow night on your local ABC station. You got Boston and Golden State. Could we be seeing the NBA Finals preview again? A rematch? We'll see. Utah and Denver. That should be a fun one at 8 o'clock. And Minnesota, the Olympic Minnesota T-Wolves continue their West Coast road trip at Portland at 9.
Okay, wrapping up the weekend schedule for Sunday looks like this. At 5:30, the Chicago Bulls will visit Atlanta to take on the Hawks with or without Trae Young. At 2:30, the Suns will visit the New Orleans Pelicans. At 5 o'clock, the Lakers will wrap up the East Coast road trip at Detroit. Also at 5 o'clock, Sacramento will visit MSG to take on the New York Knicks. Also at 5 o'clock, Toronto will visit Orlando. 5 o'clock game again, Charlotte at Philadelphia. Hornets face the 76ers. And at 6 o'clock, Milwaukee will face the Houston Rockets. So that's your schedule for this upcoming weekend in the NBA.
This is Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Lakina McGee, Sydney Brown with you. What do you want to go to next, Sid? We still got a little bit of time before we got to go to break.
Let me throw out my question real quick before we get to baseball. I was watching a couple of things on YouTube last night regarding the Larry Bird era in the Boston Celtics, and they were talking about the battles that they had with Michael Jordan when the Bulls were young. Of course, they beat the Bulls in the playoffs in '86 and '87. And this season will mark the 37th year that Michael Jordan scored 63 points in Game 2 in the '86 playoffs in Boston Garden. So I was thinking real quickly, last night. I'll ask you, Lakina, and then I'll ask our viewers and listeners. And you can hit us up in the comment section at Sports on Chicago on Facebook and Sports on Chicago on YouTube. Who are your top 5 players that could break the record? I'm surprised this record hasn't been broken by now. Selfishly, as a Bulls fan, I want that record to be held forever, but I accept it at some point that record will fall. But here's my top 5 players I think they could break the record right now, in no particular order. 1, Steph Curry. 2, Klay Thompson. 3, Kevin Durant. 4, who did I have at 4 last night? Let's see. I should have written this down. I'll think of the fourth player in just a moment. But my fourth player, Devin Booker of the Phoenix Suns. And my 5th player, here's my wild card, Donovan Mitchell of the Cleveland Cavaliers.
I can see them doing either one of them. But I would say maybe Jaylen Brown. He probably has a good shot, or even Jason Tatum. I mean, either one of them could probably do it. Of course, Boston wanting to get that a little get back there. I could definitely see Steph doing it. I'm surprised he hasn't done it. LeBron,
Exactly.
I mean, LeBron, maybe peak LeBron. I don't know. LeBron now, maybe would
Now
do
LeBron
it.
now. No, I don't think so.
No,
Not now.
probably not now. Who else would be good? Who else probably could do it? I mean, maybe Trae Young. Maybe if they don't figure things out over there in Atlanta. Let's see. I know KD probably could still do it. I know.
Yeah, he was third. Yeah, I had him on my list.
KD Yeah, I agree. Probably could do it. Could Kawhi do it? I don't think so. Not at this juncture with the injuries coming off an injury and such. I think Damian Lillard could probably do it. I think those are probably
But
my
I think he has to
favorites.
play somewhere else for that to happen, Lakino, unfortunately.
Maybe so. Maybe so. Maybe you're probably might be right
Yeah,
about
get
that.
healthy first and then play somewhere else. And then I think he
Probably
has a shot
Embiid.
to
I
do
think
it.
Joel Embiid could probably do it.
Yeah, he had a 59. I think he had a 59-point game earlier this year. So
Yes, he did.
yeah,
So yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, I can see either one of them doing it. But yeah, I think different era, different time and such. The
Mhm.
way the rules are now. I was surprised that record hasn't been broken yet. But
Mhm.
yeah, I could definitely see somebody doing that. But we'll
All
see.
right. Yeah, let us know in the comment section at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Typing your answers right there. Who you think can break Michael Jordan's record in today's NBA for 63 points scored in a playoff game? Lakina, since we have a few minutes left, as you mentioned, let's go to baseball. Free agent signing frenzy. It looks like it's coming to a halt for the time being anyway, as the winter meetings wrapped up in San Diego, California. Of course, Aaron Judge was the big winner, signing that 9-year deal worth over $300 million. Of course,
360.
Carlos Correa remains unsigned. Of course, the Cubs picked up players with Cody Bellinger, James Talion, the starting pitcher formerly of the Yankees. Of course, the White Sox are sitting on the asses doing nothing. And it's not just Rick Hahn, it's Jerry Reinsdorf who's decided to be
You
cheap.
got Mike Clevenger for 1
That's
year.
a start, but if that's
I
your
mean,
only
only
move,
Yeah, I mean,
it's not going to work, Lakina. You still
yeah.
need a second baseman, and you still need an outfielder. I know Brandon Nimmo had decided to go back to the New York Mets, but
Yes,
you
he
still
did.
have a couple of good outfielders. I know one is aging, but Michael Brantley's still out there from the Houston Astros. Jock Peterson just accepted a qualifying offer from the San Francisco Giants,
The
but
Giants, yep.
yeah, I'm trying to see another outfielder. I know Will Myers is out there. I don't want him. But Michael Conforto, who the White Sox fans were screaming for Sox management to pick up last year from the New York Mets, he didn't play at all last year. He's still out there.
Well, just want to talk about the Cubs. Yeah, I know Bellinger. I know some Cubs fans were a little bit freaked out about it, but like, it's only for 1 year. You can put you play him in the outfield. You can play him at first base as well. This is a potentially good reward, especially if you play well. If he plays well, then you probably sign him to an extension. James and Talon, I mean, look, that's a solid right-handed pitcher. 4 years, $68 million. We'll see if they get either Carlos Correa or Dansby Swanson. Those two guys are still unsigned. But I think the Mets were the big winners here. Of course, Nemo as 8 years, $162 million. The White Sox were gonna pay that. Sid, sorry.
They have it, like you said, they just weren't going to pay for it.
Yeah, Diaz, of course, 102 million. Just of course, they got Justin Verlander, 86.7 million. Jose Quintana, former White Sox, 26 million for 2 years. Darren Robertson, of course, played with Cubs last year, got a year, 10 million, 360 for Aaron Judge. Philly signed a little bit. They got Tajon Walker, Trey Turner, and Matthew Schramm. Let's see. The Padres got Xander Bogaerts for 11 years at $280 million. Dollars. Can I get one of those?
San Diego with big pockets.
Yeah, I was saying, yeah. I mean, can I get one of those big deals, especially since biblical losses as a Cubs fan? But I guess now they're opening a checkbook. Wilson Contreras got 5 years, $87.5 million with the Cardinals. So of course, the Rangers got Jacob deGrom and Martin Perez and Andrew Heaney. But yeah, I mean, so far, big, money for some of these free agents. And still with a lot of guys still out there. Of course, the Red Sox, they got Yoshida, Kenny Jansen. Got him from Atlanta. Chris Martin, also Joey Rodriguez. Let's see. Seattle, they only got Trevor Gotts. We'll see if they're willing to spend. Yeah, I mean, I guess they're giving out. I guess they're not broke. I guess some of these teams, but yeah, I mean, White Sox. I don't know what they're doing. I mean, I guess Rick Hahn's hands are tied. I guess so. I don't know. I mean, it's a little nutty that the Sox aren't doing anything other than the Clevenger signing.
Yeah, also to pay attention to this free agent outfielder, Andrew Benintendi from the New York Yankees. I know it was hard to find a spot for him last year. I know he was a member of the Kansas City Royals for the last few years. He brings a solid bat, but most importantly, he brings that glove to the outfield, and that's something that this Sox team desperately needs. So I know Michael Conforto has a nice glove, but he brings that left-handed bat. The only left-handed bat you have right now is Gavin Sheets, and he's a DH, to be honest with you. Don't put him in right field again. He's your first baseman for your Sunday lineup, and he's your pinch hitter off the bench and an occasional starter. But he's your full-time DH next to Eloy. Those two can split time at designated hitter. But the White Sox still should do something at outfield. Benintendi is a nice pickup if Rick Hahn and Reinsdorf decide to do it. And you still need a second baseman. Call me crazy, Lakina. I think that the White Sox will go the cheap route. Will go with Romy Gonzalez. I know it's not the best option in the world, but I wouldn't be surprised if the White Sox will do that. Gene Segura, the free agent second baseman from Philadelphia, is still out there. There was another second baseman that's still out there. Oh, Adam Frazier from the Seattle Mariners. I don't know what his price tag is going to be, but he's still I think that's the tires that the White Sox should kick the tires on him. So the White Sox still have a couple of options, but it's up to Reinsdorf to give Rick Hahn a little wiggle room financially.
Yeah, we'll see if he does that. We know how Reinsdorf is, so especially since he got 360 out. They offer Aaron Judge anything. I think it was between the Padres and the Yankees. So of course that ended up being kind of the thing. Now Rafael Montero, of course, re-up with the Astros. So Ohtani, maybe he might be in pursuit. Next year during the trade deadline, we'll have to wait and see there.
Angels are in an ownership transition right now since Artie Moreno's put them up for sale. So watch out for that.
Yeah, something to look out for too as we get into next season. Yeah, so that's basically it on the baseball front. I mean, like I said, I think the Cubs are spending, so we'll see if they'll get the Carlos Correa or Dansby Swanson. I mean, I know they're in on both of them, so we'll see how he does there. Well, I know Jed Hoyer. I know some people are Cubs fans are questioning Mr. Hoyer there, but to see if he can, get things going too. But Tom Ricketts said, look, hey, the playbook, we're opening up the checkbook, so we'll see. We got the nice money for Cody Bellinger, of course, Davidson Talent. Like I said, our veteran pitcher, you eat up innings. So it's gonna be interesting to see what happens because I think both teams are actually, kind of like one team is spending more than the other team. So, I don't know, what Reinsdorf's thinking is, but, it is what it is there.
Stay tuned for more sports and more fun as Second City Sports #Football Friday edition continues with Herb Howard from the Bigs and Christine the Queen Manica. I'm Sid. That's Lakina. You're listening to Sports Zone Chicago.
No, I don't know, though. I'm scared.
Do you know that you're in my lane? No, not at all. Are you not paying attention? Are you texting? I was just checking in with my mom. I was telling her that I thought we'd be home by 6. It's okay. There's enough time. Just pay attention. I'm not even halfway through my text. There's no way. I'm not even going to look up. My babies are in the car. You have to pay attention. It's just supposed to be a quick text. I'm so sorry.
Hi, I'm Tom Brady, the director of DODEA. September is National Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month. The simple act of reaching out and caring for those in our communities is something we all can do. Just being there for someone you care about can be a tremendous first step in getting them access to confidential resources and support that they need. It only takes one person and one small act and 1 minute to make a difference. Let's make a difference.
Many will hear the calling. Few will earn the title. United States Marine. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Second City Sports, the hashtag Football Friday edition. We're live in the living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid. That's Lakina. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, at SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
As I was fading in and out there for a second, you followed me at Keita McGee on the Twitter and at Keita McGee on the IG.
We have an hour left of our extravaganza. We call it Sports Talk Radio Show. If you want to hit us up in the comment section, especially for our next guest, you can go to Sports on Chicago's Facebook page or Sports on Chicago on YouTube. Type in your questions or comments in the comment section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you. And just another daily reminder, you can also catch Sports on Chicago now available on Roku TV. Lakina, the Bears have an off week this week, but it doesn't mean that we don't have a lot to talk about with the monsters of the Midway. And he's making his debut on our show, Second City Sports. He's been on Sports on Chicago before via Sean and Maya in the morning. He's making his debut. He covers the Bears for It's the Bigs Media. You can follow him on the Twitter at Herb Howard 411. Once again, at Herb Howard 411. Let's welcome in Lakina, Mr. Herb Howard. Herb, what's going on, my man?
What's happening? What's happening, Sid? Keenan, how y'all feeling?
Good.
We're doing great.
You forgot to say the man, the myth, the legend, Sid. You forgot to.
My bad. My bad.
I mean, come on now, Sid. You're good at these type of things.
That's what happens when you turn 30, quote unquote.
Oh, you just getting anxious now.
All right, Herb. As I said on this program, I know you recognize this as well, covering the team. This is all about Justin Fields' development this year. We're seeing him struggle early, but he's picked it up as of late, even despite the shoulder injury. And some people call him a running quarterback. I find it offensive to me personally. He can throw the ball downfield. We saw that especially last week against a bad Green Bay defense. But give us your observations on Justin Fields' overall season up to this point, and what letter grade would you give him right now?
It'd be tough on the letter grade, but I'll come up with one. I think he's right where he should be. I think he's on schedule right now in terms of, being a second-year quarterback, already trying to digest your second offensive system, not having a lot of elite level talent around him, outside a receiver, up front on the O-line. So I think that he's right where he should be. Coming into the season, I was just looking for him to take a next step in terms of his ability to quickly decipher what happens to him post-snap. He was to the point where he understood exactly what he was looking at pre-snap, what the defense is showing, what are we trying to do offensively. But then that next step is after the ball is snapped and the defense, maybe they showed you a zone, they actually went to man, or they showed a pressure and dropped out of it, or they showed a zone and brought a pressure. How quickly can you get to your answers with your eyes and your arms? I think that was the next step in his development. Early in the season, we didn't see that next step just yet. I think that it's still very, very natural for him to use his athleticism to get out of trouble. And when you have the type of athleticism that he does, it makes a whole lot of sense. Like, there's no reason to stand back there and take those hits, again, behind a patchwork offensive line, use your athleticism and make plays with your feet. And then Luke Getsy and the offense decided, okay, well, if he does that so well, let's incorporate that into our actual game plan. Let's be more intentional about running the ball with him. And so after the New England game, or at the New England game, you saw them start to do that and then kind of continue to go in that direction. And so maybe that's stunning a little bit of his growth in the passing game. But again, I don't think they had an option in terms of other ways to move the ball. So I think that he's right where he should be. I think we've seen him make some really, really special throws. I think that anything that you would want from your franchise quarterback, you've seen it from Justin Fields. Now you want to see it on a consistent basis. And you want to see it in certain situations. But in terms of, does he have the ability to make certain throws? Can he make certain reads? Can he put the ball in tight spaces? He's absolutely shown the ability to do that. So I love where Justin Fields is at right now.
Is there concern that maybe, especially with that, like you said, that patchwork O-line long-term, especially, should he play the rest of the season, sacks, and if he steps on something, on a turf or something like that, gets a non-contact injury. So are there concerns about that, stuff like that happening to him?
Yeah, I think that's a legitimate concern. I think that there's a cumulative effect of all the hits that he's taken throughout the season, be it in the pocket or outside the pocket when he decides to run. And so I think that's a legitimate thing to be concerned about. I think ultimately, though, this is the player that he is. This is the player that he's going to be, at least for the first half of his career, until he kind of evolves into something else. Maybe when he loses a little bit of a step and he, begins to do something else. But I think that that's pretty much going to be the player that he is. Now, do you want to put him in harm's way behind this offensive line? Maybe not, right? You still got to find out. You want to continue to get Braxton Jones as many reps as possible. I think that if you get 17 starts at left tackle from a rookie 5th-round pick out of Southern Utah, no less, that's a win. I think they got to get more looks at Alex Leatherwood to see if this kid can actually still play football, if he can help you going forward. And so while you're trying to figure these things out on the offensive line, that can put Justin in a bit of harm's way. And I think if you're going to play him, I would still like to see him just get more and more reps in terms of just throwing the ball. So almost say, scrap all the running game. We know you can do that. We know it's going to be a part of your game. But for these next 4 games, if you are going to play him, and I'm not even sure that I would, but if you are going to play him, be intentional about throwing the ball down the field, trying to utilize some of those one-on-one matchups with Chase Claypool, try and get some more chemistry with some of these other receivers. And so I would like to see them do a little bit more of that, but I'm with you. It could potentially put him in harm's way and hopefully doesn't do any irreparable damage in terms of just mental things and speeding up his clock or happy feet and those types of things, because that's a possibility too. That's something you want to worry about too, but I don't know that they can find a way around it until they just add more talent to this roster.
We're talking Chicago Bears with that guy, Herb Howard from InstaBigs Media, right here on Second City Sports, a hashtag Football Friday edition, right here on Sports Zone Chicago. Silly Keenan hanging out here with you. Herb, let's stick with that Bears offense. Of course, a lot of the rushing yards are taken up by Justin Fields, but David Montgomery, I think he's due for a contract extension this offseason. He has 4 rushing touchdowns in total so far this season, and he only has 1 run of 20-plus yards, a 28-yard run. How concerned are you with David Montgomery right now, or are you concerned with him at all?
I mean, it depends on what you mean by am I concerned with him. I think that David Montgomery is a pretty good running back in this league, certainly above average. I would not invest heavily at that position. I just wouldn't. Unless you are, Derrick Henry type, Adrian Peterson is prime type, I wouldn't invest heavily at that position. You can find other guys to be as productive at that position as you could David Montgomery. And again, it's not a knock on David Montgomery. I really like David Montgomery as a football player. I think he runs hard. I think he's hard to bring down. He's very elusive. He runs with a certain level of violence that I appreciate. He's worked really hard in terms of being a pass catcher out of the backfield. That wasn't his natural MO coming out, and he does that pretty well now. And so, I really, really like David Montgomery, what he brings to you on the field, what he brings in the locker room. His teammates really like him. He seems to be a really good leader. That being said, I just would not overspend there. I think you can get the same production from Khalil Herbert. You see right now Darrington Evans coming in. He's playing well for you with the opportunities that he's getting. I'm still intrigued by what Treston Ebner could develop into in this offense as well. And so I would be surprised to see David Montgomery back as a Chicago Bear because I think he can command more money out on the open market from another team. I don't really see Ryan Poles overextending himself with a running back contract. Again, just the shelf life of these running backs just isn't very long, and you can get that production from any one of a number of running backs. And so if you aren't that elite level, number 1, number 2 running back in the league, I wouldn't invest heavily there.
Let's switch gears and talk defense for a second, Herb. Of course, besides DeAndre Houston, Carson, Jalen Johnson, is there anyone on this Bears defense that you can see probably, the team building around long term? Of course, Jack Sanborn, people are thinking, maybe Brian Urlacher and such. Dominic Robinson. Look, now, I'm not saying that, but I'm sure Herb's heard it too from various folks. Dominic Robinson. I mean, is there anybody that you feel that could be kind of like the long term answer for the Bears?
Yeah, it's Jaquan Brisker. I think that kid is going to be an absolute stud. It's unfortunate that he's missed, some time with the concussion, and hopefully he can get back and get, some more football under his belt this season. But I think that he has everything that you want in terms of size, speed, the range, the way that he plays the game. He's very, very physical, likes to be down in the box. He's always around the ball. He has fun out there. I really, really like watching Jaquan Brisker play the game. And so I'm excited to see, how he develops over the course of his career. I think he can be a perennial Pro Bowl player. I really think he's that good of a football player. I also like where Kyler Gordon did the arc of his season. It started out really slow. He was being targeted and kind of picked on early in the season. Playing cornerback as a rookie, outside of quarterback, that's probably the hardest position to come in and play as a rookie. There's just a lot of things you got to do when you're covering the best athletes on the field. And he's doing it while playing two positions. You talk about playing the nickel in the slot and playing that outside corner. That's a lot for a young kid to kind of digest all together at the same time. And you saw him kind of get confused and mixed up on a couple of plays early where he ended up getting beat for some big plays. But as he kind of settled down, the game slowed down for him. You saw him play a little bit better as the season's going along. I hope he's able to get back in and be healthy coming out of the bye as well. And so I think both those two kids, I think they were really, really good picks that I've been impressed by. Jack Sanborn, I think it's a really, really good story. I think that he certainly he flashed all in the offseason. He had a really, really good training camp. When he had his opportunities at practice, he was making plays. He was getting his hands on the ball. And you saw that, kind of translate when he got his opportunity to come on the field. That being said, I don't think that he is a centerpiece to build around. I think he's a good piece. I think that, if he's a backup linebacker that can start for you in a pinch, I think he's a four-phase. He can play all special teams for you. And so I think that, he's a very, very valuable piece and a really, really cool story. But this idea that he's going to be, some all-pro middle linebacker, I think that's far-fetched at best.
Lakina, Bears Nation going to get mad at you for not hopping on that Jack Sanborn fan club.
I like him. I like him when he was in college, but I think folks were already saying Urlacher type. I'm like,
that's crazy. That's crazy. Urlacher was a freak of nature. I mean, you talking about 6'4", 6'5", 260, 4.5 speed, can get 30 yards down the middle of the field. Jack Sanborn is not that kind of an athlete. He's very instinctive. He's a smart football player. He's able to read and diagnose plays and get to the football. He's got to be more of a sure tackler. I think he had an opportunity to end that Falcons game, but he let Cordell Patterson, he had him blown up in the backfield for a big tackle for loss. He let him, get back within 1 yard, and they were able to convert on fourth. But I think that he's played well. Again, I don't have anything bad to say about him. I'm just not in the camp that says he's going to be some elite linebacker.
Staying with that defense, Herb, one player that's has been a disappointment so far this year, and one player has been a surprise this year. Nicholas Morrow, who leads the team with 84 tackles. I really like the way this young man has played. But on the flip side, Travis Gibson, he has 2 sacks, but unless you see something that I don't see, he's been a big disappointment to me so far this year. Talk about those 2 players.
I agree with you. I'll start with Travis because I expected, him to continue to ascend and continue to take steps forward in his development. I was hoping that he would be really, really disruptive this season, and that just hasn't been the case for whatever reason. He has not taken that next step in his development. So I agree with you. That's very disappointing to see Travis Gibson kind of not take that next step forward. As far as Nick Morrow, I think that he's been as advertised, right? He was what you kind of expected. Not a huge linebacker, but he's fast. He uses his athleticism to get to the ball. Sometimes he bounces off some tackles. You'd like to see him be a little bit more of a short tackler in some situations. But I think that I've liked what I've seen from Nick Morrow. He's not a game-changing linebacker. He isn't making game-changing plays in terms of taking the ball away or blowing things up in the backfield. You haven't really seen that from him, but he's been solid. He's been the leader on that defense. He makes all the calls and the checks, and so I've been impressed by what he's done. But I think they could upgrade at a lot of positions on this defense, and I think linebacker and defensive line up and down each spot, I think they could stand some improvement. But I like what I've seen from Nick Morrow for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. I really like how he's played so far. Hope he can keep it up. Now let's talk about the NFL as a whole, Herb, because I'm getting depressed talking about the Bears. But what some people say the NFL season's been weird. Of course, Philly's got the best record. Chiefs and Bills are battling out for the top record in the AFC. What's impressed you so far, for the NFL as a whole?
I like, the young quarterbacks right now. That's what I'm really, really liking, just to seeing the development of the young quarterbacks, whether you talk about, guys like Josh Allen. Now, you think about like Patrick Mahomes, and it seems like he's been around forever. He's still a very, very young quarterback in this league, and I think he's still getting better. And so just watching these young quarterbacks develop has been impressive. I mean, obviously the game is built for the quarterbacks to have success. You can barely touch them. You can barely touch the wide receivers on the outside. Everybody wants points. And so you're going to, the quarterbacks are going to benefit from that. But I think that just watching their skill sets, I've just been impressed by how many of these quarterbacks are dual threat quarterbacks. They're able to run the ball and use their legs to pick up first downs, but they're also able to, make the reads and make the throws. And so if I had to pick, any just one thing in particular that I've been very, very impressed by this year, it's just how many of these young quarterbacks are able to play at such a high level.
And sticking with the NFL, Odell Beckham Jr., who he tore his ACL in last year's Super Bowl. Now, there's rumor has it that the Dallas Cowboys are interested in him. I know the Rams were before they started losing their star players, but do you think it's a good idea for OBJ to play this year? Me personally, I don't think so. Just rest up and go search for your new team during the offseason, because you ask a guy who tore his ACL almost a year ago to come back and play in about 2 games at the end of the regular season and ramp it up quickly for the playoffs. I don't think it's a good idea. What are your thoughts about OBJ? Do you think he plays at all this year?
Yeah, I think, it used to be where that was a 12, 18-month injury all the time, and now you got guys that are able to come back from it in 10, 11 months and, be able to be productive players. And so, each injury is different, and you got to see, how he's healed up and how rehab has gone for him. The Dallas Cowboys obviously have some concerns about whether or not he can actually help them this year. They brought him in and has the physical. He hasn't been working out for anybody. And so I think there are some legitimate concerns there. But if he is healthy and able to play, I think he can help you. Not necessarily from the sense that he's going to come out and be your number 1 receiver, but in the sense that if he's your number 2 or your number 3 receiver, you got to respect him. And that should open some things up for some of your other players. And so if he's healthy and he's able to, come out and maybe he can give you 25, 30 snaps a game, I think that he's somebody who could help a already good offense. Now, if you want him to come in and save your offense, that's I think you're asking too much. But if you just want to insert him into an offense that's already productive, that can already create some explosives, I think he can help you.
Now, let's talk about the NFC North for a second, Herb. Of course, Mikey said at the top record right now. Packers, they basically have to win out or to at least be in contention for one of those last 3 wild card spots. Do you think the Lions can somehow sneak in there and perhaps maybe get one of the wild card spots? They've been playing better.
No, I don't think so. I think that you'll see the NFC East, locking up most of those wild card spots you talk about. The Eagles running away with it, but you got Dallas, you've got the Giants, you've got the Commanders, all of them still in contention. I think that all of those teams are better than the Detroit Lions are, and they've all been playing better than the Packers have. And so as long as they got 12 up there in Green Bay, I won't count them out. That dude is an absolute assassin. And so I always leave room for him to do something crazy and get them in anyway. But if I had to bet on it, I would say that the NFC East is probably, they're going to get at least 2 of those, and then maybe you get one from somewhere else. I don't think that the NFC North is going to get more than one team. I think that obviously the Vikings are going to go, but I don't think that the Packers, and definitely not the Lions, I don't think either of them will be able to sneak into that last wild card spot.
We're halfway home with our guy Herb Howard, who covers the Bears for It's the Bigs Media right here on Second City Sports, #Football Friday edition. Sid LeKing hanging out with you on Sports Zone Chicago. Let's switch over to the AFC, Herb. I know the Buffalo Bills lost Von Miller for the season, but do you think the AFC still runs to Buffalo, or do you think Kansas City or a surprising team like the Dolphins do you think one of those 2 teams will have something to say by the regular season's end?
I think that Buffalo seems to have the most complete roster, but you lose a pass rusher like that in the playoffs. And again, talking about how good these quarterbacks are, the only way to win in the playoffs is to be able to disrupt them. You got to have consistent pass rush, especially late in games, in those fourth quarter situations where these games are going to come down to that. Like you get the Bills and the Chiefs, it's going to come down to the last possession, and somebody's going to have to be able to apply some pressure, and you got to be able to get home preferably with your front four without having to blitz and take somebody else out of coverage against these quarterbacks. And so that's a huge blow. I will still stick with the Bills right now. I'll still say that the Bills are the best team that I see, but the Bengals are coming. Like the Bengals are coming. They got to the Super Bowl last year, and I think they're peaking at the right time. And so if they can continue to ascend over the last quarter of the season, I think that they could be in position to be really, really tough to beat. What they can do offensively in terms of the wide receivers that they have with Higgins, with Chase, they can just do a lot of things to you offensively. And so I'm looking at the Bengals coming. I'm still holding on to the Bills right now. The Chiefs, they have Patrick Mahomes, they got Travis Kelce, but I don't know if they have the complete roster that the Bills and Bengals have. It'll depend on how the seeding comes out, who has to play who, and where they have to play them. That'll factor into the situation as well. But right now, if I had to rank the AFC, I would go Bills, Bengals, and then the Chiefs.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about Baltimore. Do you think they can hang on and win the AFC North, especially with Lamar Jackson being out for a couple of weeks with that PCL, or do you think the Bengals can come in and pass them up?
Yeah, I think the Bengals will probably end up catching them. Just watching how both teams are trending. I know they won without Lamar Jackson, but they won like 10-9 or something like that, right? It's like I don't know that they can continue to pull games out that way. And again, I just think that the Bengals, more so about the Bengals even than it is the Ravens, just watching how they are ascending, I think they're going to be really, really tough to beat over the last 4 or 5 weeks of the season. And so hopefully the Ravens can hang in there and still maybe, secure a wild card spot. But I think the Bengals are ultimately going to win the North.
All right, Herb, since we got you here, we have a few minutes left with you before you became the guy for the Bigs covering the Bears. You were a college athlete yourself. I know you're going to brag about that a little bit. So tell us about your experience of being a college football player.
Oh no, it was brief, to be honest with you. But I went down to SIU in Carbondale, and I had some health complications my senior year in high school that kind of led me to be there. And it was cool. I got there, and Brandon Jacobs, the running back from the Giants, was there, and they had a really, really good team. That year, actually went to the 1AA semifinals and lost to Delaware when Joe Flacco was the quarterback. He came to Carbondale and won that game for them. And so that was a cool, really, really cool experience just to, continue to play the game that you love. You grew up around the game. You just want to play it for as long as you can. So it was a really, really cool experience. Didn't last as long as I wanted it to, probably because I just didn't have I don't know. It was more of things that I didn't take advantage of more than anything, but it was a really, really cool experience.
Yeah. How'd you end up, get into journalism and at the Bigs?
Well, I started just kind of just freelancing. I've always really, really liked the Bears. I've always been a huge fan of the game. I can remember just like being a kid, and I would sit down every year for the draft, and I would just sit there with my notepad, and I would write down every pick and every player and what school they went from and what team they went to and positions and all those things. I probably still have that notepad somewhere, just years and years of NFL drafts. And so I've always just kind of followed the game that way, and I'd followed the Bears the same way. And I would just I would just go on YouTube and just like talk about the Bears on my own for a while. And I met Eugene McIntosh and Terrence Tomlin, the founders of the Bigs. I met them, and just kind of talking through sports, we started to do a pregame show. We called it the Kickoff Kickback during the pandemic season in 2020. And
I watched that. That was great. That was great.
Yeah,
it really was.
Thank you. We would just do that, on Sunday mornings from like 10 to 12 and talk about the Bears and talk about the NFL. And so as that kind of concluded, they were like, yo, what would you think about, coming to cover the Bears for us? And I was like, look, don't play with me like that. Like that's like a dream come true. And so I kind of left it alone. They were like, no, we're serious. I was like, yeah, whatever. And, a little bit before training camp in 2021, everything came through. The Bears sent my credentials, and now I'm on my second season, working the Bears beat. I love it. It's a lot to it. It definitely offers me changes my perspective a little bit. It's good and it's bad. I'm not as big a Bears fan as I used to be, which is kind of sad. Like I used to be just this huge Bears fan, and this diehard. And now just different perspectives. I just kind of view it differently, but I really, really love it. It's a joy. Going to all the games, following them around the country, those types of things takes a lot, but it's something that I really, really enjoy doing. I get to be around the game I love and cover the team that I love in the city that I love. And so I'm fortunate. I'm blessed. I appreciate the opportunity, and I just try to do the best I can with it every day.
And before I ask my last question, you guys get the best access to the players, unlike other media members in the city. So we definitely appreciate that. And you guys bring something different to the table than, like I said, all the other outlets in town. My last question.
It's one of the few places. I'm sorry. It's one of the few places in America where it is to our benefit to be young and black. You know what I mean? Like it's one of the few places in America where that works to our benefit. And so, it makes it a little bit more relatable to the players. We speak the same language. We come from the same places. we walk the same, we talk the same, that kind of stuff. And so that allows you to just kind of develop more authentic relationships with the players. And so when the time does come when you want, a one-on-one interview or you need a question answered, they seem to be more apt to give me a legitimate answer as they see it. And so I appreciate that. I try to treat them with the level of respect that they deserve. It's not easy to be, in the NFL. All those players are really, really great. No matter how we talk about them and decipher them and we analyze them as we should, but they're really, really good at what they do. And so I respect them for that. And I just try to, just have genuine interactions with them. And so far, so good.
Yeah, as we say all the time, context is key, and sometimes some people get them and some people don't, which is unfortunate. Now, my last question from me, Herb, you guest starred on the Sports Adjacent podcast, which is part of the House of L Network, with a friend of the show, Jason Leisure from the Sun-Times, of course, and another friend of the show, Russell Dorsey, of course, worked with Tony Gill on the old Dean Davis show back in the day. You really held your own over there. You had fun over there doing a couple of those episodes. Talk to us about that experience.
No, it was fun. I've had a chance to do Sports Adjacent twice now, I believe, and just a really good time. All those dudes are really good dudes. Jason Leisure has become a really good friend of mine. He was the first person when I joined the beat last season to just kind of introduce himself to me and let me know, hey, if you need something, don't hesitate to ask me for it. And he's just been a really, really good friend and somebody that I can go to and lean on for different things as I just continue to get more and more experience in this industry. He's been a good friend both in the media room and outside of it. And so he asked me to come on the show. I was like, of course. And so it was fun. Russ is absolutely hilarious. And Tony is just phenomenal at what he does. And so it was definitely a good time anytime I get to hang out with those guys. Shout out to Sports Adjacent.
What advice would you give for someone who's trying to get into doing what you're doing and covering the Bears and whatnot?
Yeah, I would say just continue to stack good days. Just be intentional about it. Put as much time and effort as you can into it, and understand the work that comes with it. It's a lot, right? So there's a lot of things that go into it, and the scheduling is not your own. You're kind of at the mercy of whatever team you're covering. And so if they say, hey, press conferences are at this time, that's just what it is. And if they change it 5 minutes before, then they just change it 5 minutes before, and they can. And so there's a lot of work that goes into it in terms of spending long days at Hallis Hall and the long breaks that may be in between practice and press conferences, or talking to assistant coaches at 5:30 at night, and then trying to get back in the traffic and get back into the city. And that could be hour and a half, 2 hours coming from Lake Forest in rush hour. And so there's a lot that goes into it. And I just, be prepared for that aspect of it as well. It's a lot of fun. I enjoy it. But there's definitely a lot of work that goes into it. But anybody that's passionate about it, I would say, especially now, there's a way to get into the industry now than was different from ever before, right? You can kind of start things on your own. You can kind of create your own shows, and you can make your own connections even with the athletes and players via social media or whatever it's going to be. And so that's a nice avenue to be able to have, but just to be consistent and be right. I think there is such a need to be first right now that people don't even care to be right. And you just end up putting out all kind of crazy stuff going on, and the blue checks on Twitter and how that's going right now. So there's this misinformation just flying around from everywhere. And so I would just say, be consistent, be passionate, be prepared for the work, and then and be accurate. Be accurate.
All right, that's great advice from our guy, Mr. Herb Howard, making his Second City Sports debut right here on Sports Zone Chicago. He covers the bigs for It's the Bigs Media. You can go to itsthebigs.us. You can follow Herb Howard on Twitter at Herb Howard 411. Once again, at Herb Howard 411. Let's give this nice young man a hand for a great job today. The man,
I
the
received
myth,
that.
the legend.
I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all so very, very much for having me. Keenan said it was an absolute pleasure. Thank y'all so
Right
much.
back at you. Same.
Yes, we'll have you on again soon. Take care and keep up the great work.
Looking forward to it. I will. Y'all do the same.
You too. Thank you. All right, Lakina, we got a break real quick, but coming up next we have our girl Miss Christine the Queen Manica from KXRB in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. She's going to give us her picks for this week's Week 14 games in the NFL, and we had to discuss the White Sox with her and a whole lot of other fun stuff. You listen to the Second City Sports Friday edition, #Football Friday edition. I'm Sid. That's Lakina. You listen to Sports Zone Chicago.
The
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too. These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you, your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Oh, I'm sorry. Welcome back to Second City Sports. We're live and living, calling the hashtag Football Friday edition right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid. That's Lakina. You can get at your truly via the Twitter and the IG at CK80. Once again, at CK80, that's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow back Keenan McGee on the Twitter and at Keenan McGee on the IG.
And we'll have our girl, Miss Christine, the Queen Manica from KXRB, joining us shortly with her Week 14 NFL picks while we wait for her appearance. Lakina, just a couple of quick things about last night's Thursday night football contest between the Los Angeles Rams and the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders had two dumb penalties on the Rams' last drive. Baker Mayfield, on his third day with the team, comes back and leads the home team on a 98-yard drive to beat the Raiders 17-16. Lakina, I didn't think the Raiders were going to make the playoffs anyway, but last night's loss just confirmed it for me. Those late Raiders from last night went back to be the old school Raiders from back in the day. Dumb penalties, not scoring enough points, even though Devontae Adams had another great one-handed catch. It was just ugly. If you're a Raiders fan, you definitely had to have your head in your hands today.
Yeah, I mean, they lost to a guy who literally just came off the street like 2 days ago. Like
Yeah.
Baker Mayfield let him down the field, and like you said, those two stupid penalties that set him up that game-winning touchdown pass to Van Jefferson, and of course, with that game with extra points. So it was just like, oh Lord, I mean, those darn those darn penalties and such. So it's just
Mhm.
crazy, but yeah, that whole game itself. I mean, like you said, I did think they were going to go to the playoffs anyway, but
Mhm.
come on, it was just a little silly.
Yeah, it was silly. So the Raiders will basically have to win out, and hopefully, in their situation, hopefully the Chargers will lose out. The Jets, I know they're still hanging on to a wild card spot. It's going to become tighter in the AFC wild card race, much more so in the NFC, which I agree with her power in our last segment. I don't think that it's going to be too much in the NFC. I know the Giants are still hanging around. The guy, big game, will give you our picks who they're playing coming up, but I think it's going to be a much more wild race in the AFC in terms of the playoff chase than in the NFC.
Absolutely. So, yeah, that was just a crazy game. I caught the tail end of that, and it's just a little bit nutty. So
Yeah.
it's kind of a little bit nutty here, but yeah, I mean, just I think they have been like I think Baker Mayfield has
Mhm.
trailing by 13 points, plus points. He's now 2-1 off the bench, which when trailing by 13 plus points. So it
Yeah.
was just but yeah, I mean, wasted a big, time, for Devontae Adams. So, wasted that great performance by him. But yeah, that if you're a Raiders fan, you thought that loss to the Colts was bad, but that's nothing compared to that. I know Christine's been having issues with the Wi-Fi where she's at, so I know that she's been said that's probably why we haven't gotten to her yet. But we're
Mhm.
giving her a little bit of time. But we'll say that we'll just say she had 10 wins. I got your I counted it. I double checked. You had 9, Sid, and I
Okay.
had 9. So she's right behind you, Sid. She's only like one game behind you.
Oh, one
Now.
game. Oh, I
Yep,
guess
only
we gotta get some separation. I don't like
yeah,
this. I don't
yeah.
like this. I
She's
need
really
to
like
dominate, dominate, dominate.
she's really like in your tail now. So,
Uh,
I think we're ready. I think we're ready to for her to come on. So, our buddy, KXRB, Miss Christine Manica. Hey, Christine.
Yay!
I am so sorry. It's crazy.
No, it's fine though. I'm glad we were able to find a place that had got a somewhat decent Wi-Fi. So,
Well,
whatever.
now I'm on my phone, and this seems to be working a little bit better. So we're gonna keep it like this, I think.
Okay.
Good, and we can see you as well for those of you that's watching via Roku and via our Facebook and YouTube pages. Christine, I'm sure you heard Lakina's great news. You had 10 wins last week. Me and Lakina both had 9. You won. Yeah, you one game behind me. I don't like this.
Yes, I am.
Yes, she is. Yeah, I'll say she's right at you.
Get ready. I'm coming for you.
And we got like 5 weeks left, so let's get right to, of course, the Bears on bye. Thank God we don't have to pick a Bears game, guys. Let's be happy about that. Also, this is the last of the bye weeks. You got the Packers, the Falcons, the Colts, the Saints, and the Commanders. So adjust your fantasy teams accordingly if you're not in your playoffs in your league already. Let's start off here. A really good one here in the AFC East. You got the 7-5 Jets against the Bills. Of course, Von Miller is out for the year, as we mentioned earlier with Herb. And yeah, this is going to be a very interesting game. So, Sid, you start for us, please.
I know Buffalo's favored by 10.5. If I was a betting man, which I am not, but I would take the Jets and the points. It's going to be a defensive struggle, but I think Buffalo has enough to win. They'll have to adjust with life without Von Miller, but I think they'll have enough to get it done because the Jets do not have enough offense, particularly in their running game. So I'm going with Buffalo.
Same with me. I'm going to stick with Buffalo. I wouldn't be surprised if the Jets do something crazy or take advantage of the fact that Von Miller is out for the season. But I'm going to stick with Buffalo.
I pick the Bills mainly because I trust Josh Allen. I know he tends to make weird interceptions at opportune times, sometimes, but I also think Mike White, we saw with that Minnesota game last week. You're not ready. You're not ready. So should be look. I would be surprised that Justin Mount win it. No, I wouldn't be so shocked, but I would pick the Bills. But it's gonna be a close one. AFC North time. We got the Browns and the Bengals. Christine, you start this one for us, please.
I'm sticking with the Bengals. They're the better team, and I don't want to see Cleveland win. That's my own personal bias. Take it as what you will, but yeah, Bengals.
Yeah, Cleveland's offense looked like trash last week, and Houston couldn't. If they had an offense, they would have won the game. But that's besides the point. The Bengals, as I said last week, would beat the Chiefs, and that's exactly what happened. So Joe Burrow's 3-0 against the Kansas City Chiefs, including last year's AFC title game. The Bengals are favored by 5.5. I think the Browns will bring it defensively, but Cincinnati's on a roll right now, so I'm sticking with Cincinnati.
Yeah, I think the Bengals too. I feel like Herb said, they're getting hot at the right time. I think they're trying to
Just like last year.
exercise. Yeah, I think they're exercising that Super Bowl runner-up curse. With the Rams being where they are right now, despite their win last night, they only have 4 wins now. So I'm gonna pick the Bengals just because they're a better team. All right, Texans and Cowboys. I think we can all say it. 1, 2, 3.
Cowboys.
There we go. See, save some time there. Save some time there. It might get ugly too. So
Davis Mills is back starting at quarterback for Houston.
Yeah, that's as if I needed another reason to pick no trade to Davis Mills, but no.
Yeah.
All right,
Next game.
Sid, all right, yeah, Sid, you start this one for us. You got the Vikings and the Lions in the NFC North battle.
This game in the Chicagoland area will be seen on locally on Fox 32. The Detroit Lions we cannot make this stuff up. Detroit is a 2-point favorite at home. That's right. They're minus 2-point favorite at home against Minnesota. Of course, they beat the Vikings for their first win last year when they were a much worse team. Sorry for my bad English, but I know the Vikings are 10-2. The Lions are 5-7. I like the way the Lions have been playing, but this is tough. This is really tough. And so Vegas says they still give a slight advantage to Minnesota, but I'm gonna step out on this one. Take 2 and call me in the morning, but I'm going with the Lions in the field goal.
Okay.
I was close to picking the Lions too, just because, again, I said this a couple of weeks ago. I don't think Jared Goff is the answer. I think the coach is the answer. I think the players around him are the answer, and the coach is really, I think, has the responsibility for getting the team to where they even are performance-wise. But I'm sticking with Minnesota just because they have the coach, they have all the tools that they need. I don't think Kirk Cousins is the answer either, but he's working for them right now.
Yeah, I know they play really close. I think the Lions probably should have won that game, their first meeting, but I feel like the Vikings, I know that, they got a little bit too close to cover in that win against the Jets, but I think they'll do just enough. I think they know that they can clinch a playoff spot if they win, so I think they're going to have a little bit of incentive, so I think they'll win this one. Good one here in the NFC East. Chrissy, you can start this one for us. Eagles and Giants.
I was so surprised that the Giants even went into overtime last week with the Commanders. But you know what? It just shows that this season in the NFL has been so weird. It's been so out of the ordinary from week 1 and a couple weeks after that even. But I'm sticking with the Eagles. I'm sticking with the Birds for this one.
Yeah, Washington blew that game last week. They should have won it. I know it ended up in a tie, but if you're a Giants player, you should feel like you lost that game. It should feel like you lost that game. As I suspected, this will be the start of the Giants' downslide of not making the playoffs. They tied Washington last week. They still got to play Dallas. Well, no, they're done with Dallas. They still got to play the Commanders next week in D.C., and they still got to play the Eagles one more time. So after this Sunday, I'm going with the Eagles. So get ready, Giants fans, for your downfall.
Yeah, the downward. I think that was. I think that tie was the start of the downward spiral for the Giants.
Yeah,
I was never a believer in the Giants. So even with that win, when they got the 7 wins, but I think the Eagles realized that they can clinch a playoff spot right now with this win. So I think they'll do it. I think they'll do it on Sunday. All right, AFC South. Okay, you got the Jaguars and the Titans. Sid, you start this one.
I want to pick Jacksonville, but the way Tennessee got embarrassed by Philadelphia on the road last week, I know Tennessee's a 3.5-point favorite. I'm going with Tennessee. This usually is an ugly game because they're division rivals. I know Jacksonville has been playing much better. I know they got their doors blown off at Detroit last week, but the way Tennessee got embarrassed last week against the best team in the NFC record-wise, I'm going with the Titans.
Yeah, Jacksonville still doesn't look good, in my opinion, anyway. So I'm sticking with Tennessee.
Yeah, you don't know what Jags team you're gonna get. You're getting the team that got beat beat the Chargers, but you're also gonna get the team that got their butts kicked a couple weeks back. So I'm picking the Titans too. I think they're gonna be a little bit miffed. Mike Vrabel will have his guys ready, so I'm picking the Titans here. I think it'll be ugly though, but I think they'll end up winning it late. All right, first of the 3:00 games, you got the Chiefs and the Broncos in the AFC.
Oh, did we do
West.
Baltimore, Pittsburgh?
No, we did not.
No, we did. Oh, yeah, that's right. I skipped that one. My bad. AFC North, you got the Ravens and the Steelers. Of course, Tyler Huntley will have the start. Of course, Lamar Jackson's going to be out for about 3 weeks with that sprained PCL. It's going to be ugly like it usually is between these two teams, because this could be a 9-6, 6-3 type of thing. I think the Ravens will pull it out just because I don't trust the Steelers at this point in the season. I don't.
Pittsburgh's a 2-point favorite at home, so Vegas is telling you that Baltimore is slightly better. Usually the home team gets 3, but because they're at home, it's going to be ugly. I'm going with the Steelers. I'm stepping out.
I'm going with the Steelers too, just because I think Lamar Jackson is going to be out for a couple of weeks. And, the Steelers, they haven't looked totally great this year for whatever reason, for multiple reasons, I should say. But I'm sticking with the Steelers for this one.
It wouldn't shock me. Like I said, these two teams always have their battles. So
Kenny Pickett's been playing better the last couple weeks.
Yeah, he has. Yeah, he really has. So we'll see. All right, now we go to 3:00 games. You got the Chiefs and the Broncos. Yeah. Chiefs and Broncos, the AFC West. I think we all agree. I mean, unless something weird, monumental happens, we get a chance to ask her about this, Russell Wilson and such. But looks like the thing Hackett will get his pink slip at the end of the season. So I'm picking the Broncos. The Chiefs. The Chiefs, I should say. I almost called myself there. Yeah, I'm picking the Chiefs.
Did you say that you think that Wilson will get the pink slip by the end of the season?
No, I said Hackett. Hackett will get the pink slip.
I was going to say, I'm like, whoa, I think Hackett should get it more than Wilson at this point.
Well, they just gave him that big contract, so he's not going anywhere. Wilson is.
Right,
so, but yeah.
They stuck with him.
They're stuck with him, but Hackett they can get rid of.
Yeah, Sid, I'll keep mine short and sweet. Let's ride Kansas City every time now.
Yeah, Kansas City's favored by 9. I'm going with the Chiefs, but don't be surprised if Kansas City starts to play around in the first half, going through the motions, and then they'll get down by 3 or some happenstance the game is tied at halftime, and then in the second half they'll come out and go guns blazing. But I'm going with Kansas City.
Yeah,
which could very well end up happening, I think.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Panthers coming off a bye as they face the Seahawks. Sid, you start this one for us.
Seattle's been limping down the stretch, but they're still a better team. They're still in the playoff race at 7-5. Carolina's trying to finish off the season. We'll ask Christine about their former quarterback later. But as far as this game is concerned, Seattle's a 3.5-point favorite at home in America's other game of the week for Fox as part of their doubleheader. I'm going with Seattle.
I'm just going to go with Seattle because they are the home team and because you don't know what team we're going to get out of Carolina. They've had so many ups and downs this season, quarterback changes and whatnot. You just don't know what you're going to get, but you know what you're kind of going to get with Seattle, especially at home.
Absolutely, yeah. That 12th man. I know that they love Geno over there now. So, they really need us to keep pacing that NFC wild card. Like you guys said, I mean, Panthers, you don't know what you're going to get. So they're coming off a bye, so that could help them a little bit. But, they'll keep it close. But, I think Seahawks will pull away late. Now, I think, are we going to get this game here in Chicago? I know Fox got the doubleheader, but this is probably the game of the week, I think. The Bucks and the 49ers.
Yes, we will.
Excellent. So, Bucks, cut out that short week, with that win against the Saints on Monday. 49ers, of course, remember, no Jimmy G, Christine, at least for the next few weeks. Yeah, I know, right, bro. I know,
at
right?
least he doesn't need surgery. That's all I'm happy about. At least he doesn't need surgery.
Yeah, so he could be back for the playoffs should the 49ers get there. So, Christine, you start this one for us.
Mr. Irrelevant, Josh Purdy is now becoming relevant, and I think he looked great, but I don't think it's necessarily because of him. I think it's because of the defense and the stacked offensive lines. Both teams are stacked in that regard. And I think it also helps that even during the season, he would do reps with those guys, not just the, the B team, C team, whatever you want to call them. He worked with the first stringers. He worked with Jimmy G in case something like this were to happen. Jimmy G's been a great mentor, not just for, Trey Lance, but also for Josh Purdy too. And it shows, I think, in that game, in that type of situation, he was ready to go. And I mean, 22 years old against Tom Brady, who's 45. I mean, it's kind of, it's incredible. This kid was watching Tom Brady as he was, coming into his own. So the fact that he's probably playing against him is surreal in his mind. And I can only imagine what he's going through. But because of I think just because the offense is solid, Christian McCaffrey is solid, I'm going with the 49ers.
Yeah, the 49ers are 3.5-point favorites. They need a big game from Christian McCaffrey, as you said, Christine. Their defense last week was solid, especially against that high-powered Miami Dolphins offense. I told you guys they would shut them down. It's going to be an ugly one. I think it's going to be a Lakina special, pre-1980s football, because the Tampa Bay's offense is so putrid. They were lucky to win that game last week against New Orleans. They should have scored more points than 16, but it's going to take 8 or 9 wins for that sorry-ass NFC South division. My goodness. But the Buccaneers are going to take another setback. I'm going with the 49ers.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, they're coming off a short week, and I think as long as Purdy doesn't make any mistakes, he should be fine. I mean, just give it to Debo, just give it to Christian McCaffrey, let the defense do its job, and just they'll be just fine. All right, Sunday night here, you got the Dolphins and the Chargers. Sid, you start this one.
I know both these teams on the AFC wildcard race, with Miami leading at 8-4. The Chargers are 6-6. They lost another close one to the Las Vegas Raiders on the road last week after pulling out a game at Arizona the week before. You don't know which Chargers team that you're going to get from week to week. I like Justin Herbert. Their defense has been hit and miss all year. Part of it is due to injuries. I want to pick them because they're at home, but I would not be surprised if the Dolphins won this game. Miami's a 3-point road favorite. Call me crazy. I'm going with logic here. I'm going with Miami.
I'm going with Miami too. I think Justin Herbert's looked great this year. I think Khalil Mack has looked way better than what he did with the Bears, his last couple of years with them. But Miami, they just have something going. They want to play for Tua. They got Tyreek Hill too. So that's another factor that's really lighting up this team. And they have a coach that actually takes accountability. I don't know if you saw the video, but one play that he called, he said, I fill in the blank there up, and he owned it. And you don't see many coaches doing that, especially when they mess up on plays
Mike McDaniel.
Like yeah, exactly. So I'm going with Miami here too, Sid.
Oh my goodness, I want to pick the Chargers so bad, just mainly because but yeah, I mean only because Mike Williams need to do something for my fantasy team. One of the reasons why I'm still behind on it is because they haven't had good production. He hasn't been able to stay healthy. But I am going to go with logic and pick the Dolphins. Should be an interesting one here. Monday night, you got the Patriots and the Cardinals coming off a bye. The Patriots, I never know what Patriots you're going to get. Could we see a Bailey Zappi? I know people in Boston are already chanting for him to come on. Oddly enough, I know the Cardinals, they're coming off a bye. Take two and call me. I'll pick the Cardinals only because they're at home. I don't know why, but I feel like they've been off for a bit. I'll say the Cardinals.
I'm going with the Cardinals too, and I think by the end of the season, they're gonna clean house, and Bill Belichick and Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft.
Oh, Robert Kraft.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why I said Jerry. They look so similar,
They do look like a little bit.
Gosh, it's been a long day for me. So Robert Kraft and Bill Belichick, they're gonna do some cleaning house, I think, come off season.
Let's make it 3 for 3. I'm going with the Cardinals as well. They're the better team at home. I know New England's a 1.5 favorite, but I'm taking Arizona. I know Arizona is barely hanging on to hope as far as making the playoffs, but they're the better team, especially offensively, so they should be able to win this game.
All right, and those are our picks for Week 14 in the NFL. You listen to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Lakita McGee, Cindy Brown, and our girl, character is Christine Manica joining us. The good news is we had to do a Bears game this week. Thank the Lord. So that was a win in of itself for us.
Can I just say the win for me that entire game was that Fields slid. He actually had the ball and he slid. And I'm like, this is revolutionary. Thank God. Someone taught the kid how to slide.
Someone should teach him that full time this off season. Hopefully you can keep that up.
You know, practice.
No kidding. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's talk a little MLB free agent signing for a second, Christine. The Sox, of course, we talked about it last week. They signed Mike Clevenger.
Yeah.
But they haven't done much else. The winter meetings, they kind of came up empty-handed. What do you think's been happening so far with your White Sox? And who's your kind of like your?
I don't know.
A lot of your guys have been signed.
Your guess is as good as mine. I don't know. Look, my co-host Andy, he's a Cubs fan. So when I saw that they got Cody Bellinger, I said, "Hey, good job. That's a pretty solid pickup there." And you could see why they had to let Wilson Contreras go. I believe he's off to the Cardinals now. But even with 1 year with Bellinger, I think it's going to make a little bit of a difference. Again, I don't know. I don't know what you're going to expect from that team coming up. I don't know what you're going to expect from the White Sox right now either. You still have, Tim Anderson, Eloy, but everything else, I don't know. I don't know who's going to be that next big hitter. It could be Tim Anderson if he's healthy. It could be Adam Engel. I don't know. We're just going to have to see how this team all plays out.
Yeah, as we talked about Lakina last week with our guy Sean Davis on the Lucky Lefty podcast, it's a bunch of what is with the White Sox right now, and that's not good going into a new season. You still need a second baseman. There's a couple of free agents out there. We talked about the free agents in terms of the outfielders last hour with Lakina. You still got Michael Conforto out there. You still have Michael Brantley. He's a veteran from the Houston Astros out there. The White Sox need an outfielder, defensive outfielder. If that person brings a bat with them, so be it. But they need defense to help out Luis Robert. Gavin Sheets, he should split time at DH with Eloy Jimenez. Yeah. He's your first baseman with that Sunday afternoon lineup. Yep. That's where it was occasional first base once a week. That's where Gavin Sheets needs to be. He's not your full-time right fielder. I love him, but he's not your right fielder nor left fielder. I know Andrew Vaughn's going to play first base. Eloy, he's going to stay at DH. I'm sick of Lakina. I love you. I'm sick of Lakina saying her favorite moment is Eloy Jimenez wrapped up in a net catching a foul ball. I'm sick of hearing it. So
look, I don't want to get caught in the net.
Exactly.
I don't want to get caught in the net. That's all I want.
Yeah. I know there was rumors out there that Liam Hendricks could bring some value in terms of second base and the outfielder. To those White Sox fans, you have a right to your opinion, but who's your closer right now? Is should Liam Hendricks get traded?
Is it right? Right. Keep him there.
Right. But if he gets traded, who's your closer? Is it Jimmy Lambert? No. Is it Ronaldo Lopez? No. Is it Aaron Bummer, who's been injured the last couple of years? No.
All I gotta say is that Griffold's got his work cut off for this offseason. And I think if I know just from seeing a little bit of him at the press conference and just on social media, I think he's got a way of pulling the team together and pulling the guys together too.
Well, yeah, they definitely are gonna need that because the window's still open for the Sox to win that division. But I think the problem is that Ryan doesn't want Rick Hahn spending any money. So I honestly don't know what to say at this point for the Sox fans. I mean, I don't know what to tell y'all. I mean, it's just one of those things where you're just like, I don't know. I'm at a loss for words here.
I want to get Christine's thing with baseball. I want to get Christine's thoughts on this. Of course, Xander Bogaerts signs with the San Diego Padres. The Padres had opened up the checkbook for the last couple of years. You saw what the Yankees did as expected to keep Aaron Judge $360 million for over 9 years. I know the Dodgers are taking a slight step back because even though baseball does not have a salary cap, you don't want to go over that tax threshold. That means you'll get penalized. But these big market teams are spending money at a crazy rate. And you got to be smart with spending your money. And we saw the Mets do it for the last couple of years. They've done it this all season so far, bringing back Brandon Nimmo and adding Justin Verlander to their starting pitching staff after losing Jacob deGrom. The White Sox, as we said, Lakina, even during the rebuild, they have money. Reinsdorf just want to be so damn conservative and not spend it. I don't get it, Christine.
I mean, look, I'm not in Reinsdorf's head. I'm not in Kenny Williams' head. I'm not in Rick Hahn's head either when it comes to the money management. Obviously, when Machado, when he was up for grabs, they did give him a solid offer. He just happened to go to the Padres. Same with Jose when he went on his press conference, being an Astro. He said that the White Sox gave him a good offer, but for whatever reason, it wasn't enough for him. The fans weren't enough for him. So he decided to take his career in another direction. And that's fine. I think what I've seen in the last couple of years, the big players that they want, they will give them a solid offer for. But unfortunately, players, they don't take it. And I don't think it's because of the organization. I think it's because of the city, so to speak. It's Chicago. You're playing in a Midwestern atmosphere where it can get cold, it can snow, it can rain. You can get all the elements out here. And I think for big players like Manny Machado, what attracts them is the warm weather, the Californian weather.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to Aaron Judge, his family is all pretty much all there. For the most part, they travel, and he goes back and forth with some friends and family in California too.
Right.
But he's established a relationship in New York, and it's just they put their athletes, I think, up to a different perspective than what they do, say, in Chicago. Same thing with Houston. Their athletes are held to a different type of standard out there. So I guess what it comes down to, I think, is more of the environment and less of the organization.
Switching gears here, talking some basketball. Of course, I want to talk about to you about Charles Barkley's comments, basically saying that the Bulls, I should say, they should start tearing it down and and start rebuilding. What's your thoughts on that?
I still think there's a lot of season left to go. People that say that you just want to tear them down and start over, we're like only a couple months in. Basketball is one of the longest sports that just go on, and I feel like there's only a month in between where there isn't basketball happening. So I think we just gotta wait to see how the season goes and what Billy Donovan and the rest of the team can do. So I wouldn't be pushing the panic button yet still. Now, if you're asking me this in February or March, then I'll say let's rebuild and start over. But right now, I want to see how the rest of the season plays out.
We got a couple of minutes left with Christine, the Queen Manica of KXRB in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, hanging out with us on the Friday edition of Second City Sports. I'm Sid. That's Lakina. Christine, for those of you listening back on our podcast replay at Warren Ingram, Christine's wearing her professor glasses, so she's bringing the heat as usual.
It's my blue light glasses. I've been staring at a computer all day, so I wear them around the office.
I want to ask you about college football, Lakina. I think you'll get the schedule up before who Notre Dame plays in their bowl game, but I want to ask South Carolina. What do you think about? Yep. What do you think about that matchup with Notre Dame's bowl game?
That's going to be a good game, just because South Carolina has been one of those surprising teams this year. Mm-hmm. And that game with Clemson was unreal. I was watching that with Chris and my future in-laws back in California when that game was going on. And I was going nuts. I couldn't believe what they were doing to this team. And I think it's going to be a really good game.
Yeah, they're going to be playing in the Gator Bowl, so it's going to be one of those New Year's. It should be a fun one. I think one of their top guys has said that he's not going to play. So I think I just saw it. Michael Mayer, who's their star tight end, I'm talking about Notre Dame, said that he is going to sit out the bowl game. So you kind of see that more and more. We've been talking about the last couple of years. More of the top players. Some are either entering the transfer portal and not playing in their bowl game, but some guys are skipping the bowl game entirely.
I think it's because he wants to get ready for the NFL. I don't think it's because he's entering a transfer portal. He's getting ready for the NFL. And the last thing he probably wants to do, especially when it's not the championship game, you don't want to risk injury. Mm-hmm. You don't want to hurt yourself. You want to get your body ready physically, mentally, whatever you got to do. So that's, I think, the reason behind that.
Remember Christian McCaffrey did that a few years ago. He
Yeah.
was at Stanford. I'm with you, Christine.
Started the trend,
I've been saying this all along. If you're not playing the college football playoff, you're not playing for the national championship. If you know that millions of dollars are on the line, sit out the bowl game. Get ready for the NFL draft because you don't want to screw up your future.
Yeah,
your future
just
earnings
go with
with
the
that.
team and enjoy the experience. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
you don't have to suit up. Just go and enjoy the experience.
Absolutely. What do you think about Coach Prime in Colorado? We get a chance to ask you that last week.
I think it's terrible that people are calling him a sellout. Because look, when you go to a JUCO school, junior college, that's just a stepping stone for a lot of people, and I don't think they realize that he's done a lot of great stuff for that school. He's brought in a lot more students. He's actually gotten people excited about football out there, and now it's time for him to move on to go to the next thing. So I think Colorado's excited. I think he went to a basketball game last night and everybody was just going ballistic for Dion when he was at the game. So I think he's ready for this opportunity and ready for a shot, actually.
Yeah. I saw the Colorado. I saw a little bit of that. Well, Colorado beat up Colorado State. They're their rival, but yeah, the biggest cheer was for Dion when he came on. He talked to the crowd afterwards in between timeouts. So yeah, I mean, look, HBCUs. Look, he brought attention. Enrollment's up. I mean, I think, look, at HBCU, they only have so much. See, we talked about it. They only have so much resources and whatnot.
Yeah,
So
compared to a Power 5 school.
Yeah, so for people to say that, oh, well, he's being no, look, come on. I mean,
I
more
think that's
money.
awful. He's just trying to better his own career.
Exactly.
He doesn't need the money. He doesn't need the money.
He
doesn't need the money. He can have his
would
money.
he like a little bit more money? Sure, but he doesn't need it. He just wants more resources.
Yeah. I heard someone say this the other day. For all the jobs that we do, whether it's this or 9 to 5 or what have you, if someone comes to you and say you're doing a great job at your current employer thus far, but we have a better offer here at place B, you're going to take it.
Yeah.
This is just human nature. So Deion Sanders is not doing anything different than anybody else. Remember, Nick Saban was a struggling assistant coach with the Cleveland Browns back in the day before he went to college football in Michigan State, before Michigan State got better. And then he went to LSU and then now Alabama. Some of the other big-time head coaches, they had to start out struggling too. So Deion Sanders is no different than anybody else. No. I get it is different because he's an HBCU. I know he did historically black colleges and universities as well as he was going at home, but he did bring some the better facilities down there, but there's only so much he could do. He did donate part of his salary so those kids could come in. Lakina, we talked about this on our last show. Whoever's the next head coach at Jackson State. Deion's given the blueprint. You cannot screw that up. Just stick to that script, that playbook, and you should be fine. Yes, you're limited because you're not a Power 5 school, but stick to the script and you'll be fine. I think Deion is going to do a phenomenal job at Colorado. Will it be his last stop unless something dramatically happens? I don't think so, but we know the Pac-12 is changing as we speak, especially with
USC and UCLA
going to the Big Ten in a couple of years. Yeah, and so that conference may not be in existence in 5 years, but that's a whole nother issue. But I think Deion Sanders is going to get him to a couple of New Year's Day bowl games. Whether they win a national championship, I doubt it, but he's going to get him to some New Year's Day bowl games and make that program respectable. That program hasn't been respectable since we were kids. Lakina, Cordell Stewart, anybody?
Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah, it's been a while since. People forget that this was a team that was going to big bowl games, competing for championships. I think people are forgetting that part of the. They have actually a rich history. Colorado does, so it's not like he's leaving for some afterthought. Football school. I mean, they've got the resources. I think they just opened a new football facility, so. They just need to bring on the recruits that they need. So, I think people need to just get off Prime's back and just let him do what he needs to do. Real quick, I know we're up against him. I know real quick before Heisman Trophy, we got Caleb Williams from USC, CJ Stroud from Ohio State, Max Duggan from TCU, or Stetson Bennett, another quarterback from Georgia. Who's your winner? The winner will be announced tomorrow night.
That TCU kid, he's originally an Iowa boy, so I know a lot of people around here are going for him. But I think, as much as it pains me to say, because he beat my poor Notre Dame, Caleb Williams, he's electric. He's electric on the field. There's no denying that.
I'm going with Caleb Williams too. I know he injured his hamstring in that title game against Utah. The injury was not the reason why that USC lost. They have USC has a trash defense. That's why they lost. But I'm going with Caleb Williams. But if he doesn't win it, I got a sneaky feeling that CJ Stroud is going to win it, even though Ohio State backed into the college football playoff with the loss, with the USC's loss. Even though Ohio State lost to Michigan, I think CJ Stroud will win it if Caleb Williams doesn't win it.
Yeah, I think Caleb Williams will win it, but if Matt Duggan somehow sneaks in there for what he did to the Big 12 title game, at least forcing it to overtime, of course, you know how some of these voters are. So I think he'll sneak in there and perhaps finish second. Although if CJ Stroud does, get in there, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked. But no respect to Stetson Bennett. I mean, the guys, he's going back to the playoff again and all his journey and whatnot. But it'll be close, so I think, once the final votes are revealed. With that said, you follow me at Kingdom McGee on the Twitter and at Kingdom's Where McGee on the IG.
You can follow your Shirley Sydney Brown on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. SIDKID80. Christine, where can the lovely people follow you on the social media streets?
They can follow me on Twitter at CManica_KXRB.
All right, folks. So, enjoy the weather. I know it's a little bit warm. You're doing your Christmas shopping. Don't overindulge, as Sid would say.
Exactly.
Wash your hands. If you're not going to get vaccinated, wear your mask. Just be good to each other. Enjoy all the games. Of course, you got the World Cup quarterfinals finishing up this weekend. So, come around as we speak. But so enjoy all the games that are going on this week. And for Sid, Christine, I'm Lakia. This has been Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. And we'll see you guys next week.
No Bears. Holla.
Thank God.